By the end of last season, I've been to over 30 different theme parks, plus for Walt Disney World, I've also only done Blizzard Beach, and also volunteered to give kids their world in 2019. Two have gone defunct, and I've also have a good bit of those are overseas as well. Last live stream in 2025, I thought about, let me do theme park Thorns and Roses. Get ready, here we go. I'm Lindsay, you're watching History and Leisure. Be sure to follow on Instagram, Threads, Bluesky, History_Leisure, as well as a Substack and my second channel, History and Leisure Echoes, where I post copyright-free footage and bonus material. Say Thorn and Roses is a nice way to say things you loved and hate about a place. Or like a trip or something. It's like, it's all this terminology from Skies how we would react to different trips, because there's a few weird things. Is that apparently I've been to Busch Gardens in 2005. That's been over 20 years, so if I had any memory, it would be completely moot. So that's unrankable. And then Wonderland in Ocean City, New Jersey, I never gave them a dime. I did walk in on the Eclipse from 2017, but anything, and I did get some photos of what was going on the boardwalk at the time, but before it closed in 2024. Dutch Wonderland is one of the two kiddie parks in my home region, but I visited in 2007 and 2010, because I believe I visited some point after I stopped going to Sesame Place before going to Legoland, Florida for the first time. So I kind of lack some info, though I do know that I haven't ridden any of the coasters or saw any of the shows, and I also add a small water park at some point, so I'll just put this with Busch Gardens Tampa as unrankable. And then Six Flags America closed at the end of last season. I got there in 2024, and one thorn I wrote down is loss of tech and stuff. Not the first time that's happened at a park, but 10 years since the last major time. I put down park closed as a thorn, because it was kind of about to do a turnaround, and also my only ride on Wild One was toward the front, and that failed to meet expectations. It was despite Scream More, that Steamtown revamp was pretty good. Thought Batwing was the best coaster in the park. Strong entertainment lineup. And then my only thing I put down for budge, like hopes and dreams or things I need to get back to, is something I'm giving for a defunct park, but please let Iron Wolf die. The original B&M hasn't been aging well, and rumor has it they really do want to relocate to Great Adventure or something, but please don't. Just let it die. Chronological order is SeaWorld Orlando, which I've only visited in 2009, so over 15 years ago, so a lot has still changed, but I even did an article about this when I did the park and transit for the whole chain. Modern BS with the chain is that I feel like the loss of the Midway area, even from an architectural perspective, doesn't hit me a lot. That's where most of my memories of the park are from, although I did do the original Penguin Catch. I put a Good Thing, and I did mostly like the exhibit talk and stuff. Besides that, so I need to do sit-down shows, all the coasters, get back there. Oh, I did put down Kids Everything on Sesame Street as a good thing. I never explored that area because it was the kids area and it was kind of off to the side. So I still felt really enjoy the general environment, despite kind of lacking in theme as much as it does now. Overall, I probably would put this park at a low B tier from my past experience and current issues. Seeing of Legoland Florida a bit earlier, the original Cypress Gardens reopened in October 2011. I got to visit over spring break in 2012. And I feel there's maybe some terrain stuff and maybe some possible limitations park and grow because of Cypress Gardens. Felt like even in the past, I felt there was pretty good shape, but that has improved, so I like that. And all the continuous investment, especially in the early years under Adrian Jones. And one gripe, I don't know if I mentioned it in my Blogmas when I was talking about Legoland, is the whole thing about removing Flight School back then, but with the infamy it did gain in real life, I have to put that down as a rose, even though I never rode it. I only rode Coastosaurus, the Joust Stride, Island Sky, rest in peace to that as well, explored the gardens in Miniland, had lunch in Pirates Cove, and also I forgot about boating school. That I'm missing though, so I am missing most things. And another thing I didn't add to my list originally, but I've had a long time, is a water park expansion. Following year, in August 2013, I visited the Walt Disney World Resort, but there's only 2 parks I haven't visited since then. Starting off with Hollywood Studios, I did based on how things are going, the old animation corridor is like a mess at the moment, but that's being worked on. And lots of backlot toward Muppet Vision, even though I never experienced the latter. It still feels a bit heavy, but I think like Galaxy definitely is probably more than made up for that. I added Phantasmic as a Rose, since they obviously lost a lot of things. Like, most of the stuff I did is defunct except Star Tours. I think maybe One Man's Dream still exists, so I did Backlot Tour, Great Movie Ride, One Man's Dream, Star Tours, the 50s Drive-In, and my dad and I watched Phantasmic. Thorns is Loss of Dinoland and Dinosaur. Never did Dinosaur, but I did do one side of Primeval Whirl. I also never saw Tough to Be a Bug. And I did watch Festival of the Lion King and Campbell Mickey, and that was well timed with rain somehow. I also did Kilimanjaro Safari. That's a big part of it. Plus, the Harambe area, very beautiful. I think the Lion King arena probably just adds to that. And there's a few other like shopping stuff they've also added since then. When I put down Alex, I was thinking mainly thinking about Asia, but that's feeling about all plus Cali that I did over there. And also attached Rainforest Cafe at that time. That's where I kind of had like a half birthday. Expedition Everest for Bud, and then Pandora opened in 2017, replacing Campbell Mickey, and then with Tropical America replacing Dinoland. I think that's slated for 2027. Then in fall 2014, as a freshman in choir, I got the honor to do candlelight procession, which means we returned to Disney World for Epcot. So I kind of lost the original concept, Empty Wonders of Life, because of foreign, and also I feel there's some potential for rising the showcase to spread out crowds, but that day specifically with Candlelight, I was with a friend named Sebastian. His dad took us quite a few fast passes, like Soarin' Test Track and Mission Space. Although he did orange and I did basically walked on green. And I've only ever, both times I did 2.0, I never really got my ever car, got tested on the track. Also strong entertainment with like Voices of Liberty, and also just how they were executing, working with us for Candlelight. That night, Jonathan Groff was narrator, and that was his last 2 times of his first time as narrator, and that was just whereby Frozen cameo of us like teenagers were like gawking over him, not regardless of gender. I also did Ellen's Energy Adventure and Maelstrom back in 2013. American Adventure has a strong show, and also saw Paul McKenna band perform in the UK. I have actually some lost footage of that. On the Buds list, Guardians of the Galaxy in 2021, Journey of Water in 2023, Puzzle Circle Vision shows in Frozen Never After, merged both Universal parks together. Studio Design, since we only had 1 day there and the jazz band performed in City Walk. So I might as well group them together, especially since I spent like 70%, like over 3/4 of the time just in islands. And by the end of the day with all the screen-based rides in studios, which I put as a Thorn, I even skipped Green Gods. That's about as far as I got in a studio. So no Simpsons, having dinner at a Mel's right before. Also, I put down Lost of Twister and Poseidon's Fury, and I never did either of those. I also putting down Fast and Furious simply for existing. I also only did the blue side of Dueling Dragons. For Rose's Harry Potter lands, they have peak theming. Jurassic Park, pretty close up there. Mommy, definitely classic. And so you see the rest of the New York area, Christmas, City Walk, and the public fossil integration. That whole like original resort area is just very well connected. Probably even does like what Disneyland does even better. But obviously with Disneyland purchasing the train station, that's even a step above that. But obviously the 2 big coasters in Islands with Velocicoaster and Hagrid, the Rip Ride Rocket replacement. Probably Sims will be gone by the time I get back to the Universal Resort, probably. Also never did any of the attractions in Jurassic Park or Seuss Landing. Then also the new gates of Volcano Bay and Epic Universe. Shared with SeaWorld Orlando is the proposed Sunrail and Brightline Station for the Orlando Convention Center, which will be the connection to both of those parks there. That will be very interesting to see if it comes around, but maybe Brightline will go bankrupt at the end of the year. Who knows? I probably would put both Universal parks probably on the edges of AT, the top, and studios at the bottom. Changes coming post Fast and Furious and Simpsons removals that it could probably narrow the playing field a bit. Then basically OC to Magic Kingdom in 2014. I had 2 separate visits there on the 2013 vacation. Put down as like always rather crowded there, and Lost of Rivers of America as Thorns. But theming very strong, full classic Disney IP as well as park original themes. Since someone got injured, we got used a disability pass and Small World on that 2014 trip. And we saw Main Street Electric because we were hanging dinner at Cosmic Rays, and then we kind of saw a little bit of the parade, and then we left, but it took forever to get back. And then I had an early flight back up to Philly the next day. Then I put down trying new Country Bear Jamboree, although I do have Country Bear Jamboree as a rose from how it was. And also Big Thunder Refurb coming back early spring probably the year. Cars Land and Villains Land. George was there on 2014, but also it was brand new, so I just ignored it. And then not sure which side of Space Mountain I did, but I do have one side. We'll put Magic Kingdom in the A tier. Hollywood, that was 2016, and thankfully, Lightning Rod, OG Lightning Rod is a rose here. That was like 2 weeks in August that it actually opened, and then Cinnamon Bread, Top Notch, and technically a full loop, but they have improved that since that visit. Like, it was really like where it all could. You wouldn't have thought about it, but we were over there, and everything made sense. And since we were coming from the Maggie Valley and kind of not having absolute early start, was kind of Thornfield only got a half day, and then there was an instant on Blazing Fury. I only rode Lightning Rod, Wild Eagle, Blazing Fury, Fire Chaser Express, and a few flats in Country Fair, plus a Cinnamon Bread. And then Wild Grove's been their main focus since like 2019. Never did Dollywood Express, their Scream and Swing, and then food besides Cinnamon Bread and maybe other resort amenities are gonna lump the water park in there as well. But I think I would rather stay off-site here in the Pigeon Forge Gunberg area or with family in the Maggie Valley. On that same trip, and on similar stories, I do have family in the Evans, which is pretty close to Holiday World. I only rode Voyage in the late morning because my dad and I went straight to the back of the park and then ran back down. Without doing the water park, it is, to me at the time, it was a half-day park. Unless you really want to lap stuff, then I probably would say, come in, get lunch before coming into the park, and then stay till close. Theming, pretty good. Strong core 4 with Thunderbird and the 3 Woodies. Right now, Legend, I think, is the best of the 3 Woodies for me, in my opinion. As for Buds, good agree with the new family shuttle coaster. And since I've still looked at it, we're trying to get back to maybe at Howler with them while I still have a chance. Also, again, with family, I feel like I should have gone back sooner. Do anything in Spot Transfer, I probably would be up to actually doing that. In this case, I did the Rapids back then. That's currently been closed for a little bit, but I think the plan is 2027 to get that back up and running, or a replacement. And I would also, again, another new holiday or dry park expansion in the Hyena Falls area. And also, even if I do never get to ride Trimless Voyage, I still really want to do it at night, and I think probably September or late August seems to be the best time for that nowadays. I did the Eclipse tour in 2017, where it started Great Adventure, continued to Morey's Pier. There was like pretty decent distance between the 3 piers, and hearing like Great Norris was refurbed, how I felt about it, it did not meet expectations of feeling refurbished, even though I'd never ridden SLC before that. Also got to ride Flitch, I think that only closed like a year or two after. And for the one water park I did, I feel it was pretty solid, so Morey's does good on their water park as well. And then riding most of the lower tier coasts I haven't as a bud, and that was when I did Plains Castaway Cove and Wonderland as well. I did go back to Castaway Cove a year later. So that leaves Casino Pier as the last boardwalk park. We all know Pirates Hideaway sucks. Some weird vibes about how it's kind of gated, kind of not. Pirates are definitely not like the best of coasters. I do feel is a pretty good there. And also another strong drop tower like Plains Castaway Cove we'll get to. And they also brought back their indoor on a few minor coasters since then. I initially said to put all the boardwalk parks in B tier, but I readjusted that. Knoebels I visited on 2016 as a scout trip, and then my mom and I returned in 2018. Feels like it's taken 84 years to rehab the Bay and Curve, but that's the only gripe I can give this park. Strong operations, that's definitely one of the few I feel like it's worth noting on here. Two strong one coasters, more of a twister person myself, and the unique one bobsled, and I've been able to ride that on both visits. Small drop tower that packs a punch. Sky ride, still need to ride Cosmos Curved, maybe do Crystal Pond, waiting for the Bay and Curve to open. Not sure about Scout Trip, but we did always cook like breakfast and dinner at our own site, and then my mom and I brought leftovers from Olive Garden in 2018, so haven't really much of a chance with the food. Haven't done the carousel, though it's a pretty big deal. I even retired an award for best carousel, because Knowles didn't know I was winning it. There's some few train rides there, haven't done them, maybe did one of them, but and then also only use the wristband, so need to use tickets, which includes me needing to do Haunted Mansion. I already said A, but there's definitely reasons why this park is people's number one. I have to an S. Clemson Park 2019 did a whole thing with tying with Worldwide Coaster Kids Day, wanted to do this in the original. I do both Sesame Place and Clemson the same day. That just did not pan out. Where Hellcat was running, it was better than expected, but it's been closed since 2019. I think they've been rehabbing it over the last year or so, but it has yet to reopen. There's a kind of whole vibe with the original one coaster Jackrabbit was. I feel it'd be nice to relocate Steel Hog and also maybe do some sort of front gate reno. And Cedar Point is a weird one since I've actually worked at this park for about 3 months in 2021. Plus, again, kind of like idea of 26, but kind of like a half day whistle stop there. Thorns kind of lost its magic of the summer, loss of dragster, lack of outside trail, and also kind of like abandoning Forbidden Frontier. Boardwalk revamp, although Wicked Twist was pretty strong. I did get one employee night ride in the back row, and then 2 in the front during regular operations. Thorns Paper, not the worst, they're just kind of like cinder block, freshman dorm type vibe. Has some great roommates, so don't really mind. Although they might have not be having me getting up at 5:30 in the morning every day. Great team there. Despite the pandemic, some strong event schedule that they were doing there. Kind of picked up then going closer into the fall season, but it was pretty adequate despite how things have been going with them coming out of the pandemic. And also the end attraction. Then also we've had 3 coasters open since then. Wild Mouse, Tropical 2 did open for 8 days, so I'm gonna count it as like for opening year. I'm gonna count that. And then we got Siren's Curse, a nice, very, very rough-looking corner of the park that I think had been that way since Valraven. Underwhelmed on my back ride on Maverick in 2020, so getting back on that. Teleworked half a day in CP Shores. I'm not sure if I've ever worth going back into Shores for me. Spending some time in Breakers. I don't really want to drop it to Beachers because of the shade issue, but I'll lump it just above Studios in A tier. Then coming back after Cedar Point is that I did visit Great Adventure in 2020 with my mom, and we did the safari, and I got the Jersey Devil cred, but my last full visit was twice during Holiday in the Park in 2019, and then my first trip was a Scout trip in 2013, and I also one in 2018 just after I aged out. My main thorn is lack of entertainment during the summer. Also lost I only got 1 ride on that. I do have 6 on Drax, but that was only during employee ride night. El Toro, not really a fan of that. Jersey Devil, but that seems to be improved over the years. Confusing to say the Safari. I think they've picked a format now, and they're sticking with it, but could be a bit more. It would be better if nothing was what Joker was. Just me. Also, the theming lacks care, but seems to be on the rebound, really kind of like what they did with Dream Street for the 50th anniversary, although nothing else really worked out. And for Roses, still have a good B&M collection, even though most of it's clones, and they lost Green Lantern. Did ride Batman the first time backwards when they were doing that in 2015. And then the original Western theming seems to be holding up pretty well. Again, Dream Street Reno as a Rose. And I also did a minor front gate reno since 2021. Then for Buds is that I put down the Spindacob, which is a Monk Extreme spinning shuttle coaster, which is like a 400-foot spike. Possibly something related to Adventure Crossing since that just went bankrupt. Hurricane Harbor, maybe. Nice to add on-site hotel, especially where that on side the old gas station has pretty good view to the road and both gates. Maybe as far as well. And also riding the floors for the first time is Medusa, since I've only ever ridden it as Bizarro. So now going overseas, we have Tibidabo in Barcelona. Thorns on a full day experience, either due upon your arrival day, departure day, or time to Golden Hour so you can get like Sun to the City, hopefully, based on like, obviously, park operations will depend. Fiona Tibidabo Express got like Swiss English hitting bushes, so that should not have been happening. And then also the suspended monorail was closed. Montagna Russa. National Coasters hyped that one up for me, and that lived up to its expectations. Nice views of the city, which was pretty strong for the views as well, and some few unique historic highlights, although I only did the plane ride. Added a drop tower that's called Merrilee, Hotel Kruger. I also did that potential for a third coaster, as well as the park's own funicular. That's pretty expensive, so I used, there's a whole integrated whole metro. There's quite a few operators in this metro system for Barcelona, but I did the one the metros, and there's a microbus. Then Parque de Atracciones in Saragossa, which is going to be, by 2029, is to rebrand to Noriland because of the whole Ferris wheel being their mascot main icon. And I felt it was just a poorly managed Knobles that you pay to enter versus pay per ride. I've seen those butterfly rides, those kiddie parks in Europe. I haven't done one of those yet, but probably just a forceless giga butterfly with high capacity.
The butterfly does nothing. Go to hell, Tear.
And also the drop tower sucks. I'll kind of admit it was nice to see those walkthroughs. That was a surprise to me. And also one-seat bus ride from the train station, so you can easily add in as a stopover. If you really want the creds right now, do it between Barcelona, Portaventura, and the Madrid stuff. Parque Warm Coaster Express is an obvious thorn because either it's forceless or jackhammers you to death. Unfortunately. Also, there's an abandoned train station in the parking lot that was built as part of the whole property back in the early 2000s. There might be plans in the works to reopen the shuttle through Parque Warner. Road is a stunt and fall. Definitely somehow best coaster in the park. Sea Escape, which opened in 2008. That's probably best now. Otherwise, I feel like a good set of indoor rides. San Loco Academia de Policía, rest in peace. There's also a water park there. Not sure I'll get to that. Seeing more of the summer time with they're open to midnight. There's an old DC show, I believe. Then also really want a hypercoaster here. Maybe replacing Stunfall, maybe in the western area. It would really just complete the skyline for me, especially when you're coming in on the train. Well, my idea for going to the opening of Phoenix in Denmark fell through. I ended up deciding to return to a country I'd visit in 2016, and that was Germany for Europa Park. The one was that it was too cold for the water coasters. I also just going to ignore Ba Express, so it's really just the two water coasters I need to get back to, plus the new Voltron and Alpen coasters, and probably Euromir 2.0 by then. I also keep catching fire somehow, and also I hate that Schweizer Bomb became my 100th coaster because I forgot to count Nitro.
Oh, hell no, man.
Although I do feel like a strong top 3 without Voltron with Voden, Blue Fire, and Silver Star, although Silver Star tends to run burn in the cold and it doesn't hot. Also, strong Dark Ride collection, though none of them were standouts, although I would probably put Piraten very high up. We're kind of still working on fixing a venture to Austria at that time. Also enjoyed the show in the Spain area, and also, I was in Germany as an excuse to get Mezzomix. To me, it's kind of mid. Also, besides the new coaster, I get back on the top 3 as a bud, and also probably experience an on-site hotel. But there's just a lot of other hotels in the area as well that are probably more cost-effective that are in walking distance, although I did get a ticket, Deutsche Bahn me from getting to visit Rolantica. Wallaby Rhone Alps. I really didn't enjoy Timber that staples you out of getting any airtime. Mystic failed to meet my expectations, they might have just been out of place. And also, the new Exotic Island hadn't opened yet. There was also an abandoned dark ride in the front area that was called Tempo Attack. Didn't realize there was a shuttle from Lyon, and I could probably bundle the ticket, or maybe just wasn't running yet. Lindsay did inefficient research. And also, the rapids outside of Guest View Pathways, unthemed, horrible. Parts of Exotic between the Voodoo area and where Mocha is now is basically abandoned outside of the log flume. There was Tam Tam Adventure. I think they had ripped out the drums probably because of the pandemic, and then there was just a lot of overgrowth and some factual working, but they completely redid it and has a completely different story. Also, a Bad Mouse here at this park with Woodstock Express.
This one is absolutely nothing. Replace with this Imperial Discovery tier.
Also, if you relocate Le Galion or get a new one for Exotic Island, and then you can. And that way, Airboat was my first Nebula. And there was also the High Dive show. That was pretty good. Holiday World had one. That was pretty good. Friendly staff, despite language barrier. Also, this park is going to get rebranded 2020 as well to just Wallaby France. Anyways, Isla Mágica in Seville. If you really want entertainment or water parks as a half-day park, I would recommend doing what I did. Palacio in the morning, eating lunch somewhere, and then going over for the afternoon. And no adults on the equivalent of the joust at Legoland, unfortunately. Not to film a show occurring on a midway that really, and I'd say do not ride. Now, seeing the back row twice in the rain. It was raining as soon as I got there. Rainy weekend in Seville. Probably because of the rain and being a game day, kids area felt abandoned. And Captain Palace's vehicles. How there's nights like kind of like a spinning car. Not friendly to lefties. Two shows I did see, really enjoyed that. Theming pretty strong. I also put a piece of Berlin Wall in here as well, due to a World's Fair connection. Euro Park has one as well up front. I did not see that on my visit though. There was a planned wooden coaster to come in the near future, and also Water Park probably not going to do that. Other than that, I got a pretty good feel of the collection. Then the second of the two major parks I visited opening weekend 2022 was the last park over that I visited. It's Parque de Atracciones de Madrid. One up I could see, like Tornado. That was opening weekend and it was closed during Fiesta de Mexico. So that could pack ride availability at times. Especially all trains at once on Vertigo, which is their wild mouse. So again, that's another bad mouse in my opinion. Pretty easily desensitized to a beast swing, though I only rode it like maybe one or two times my first visit, and then another one or two times in May. So it had been like 3 months. Also, the area around where the metro entrance gate is kind of feels a little abandoned or outdated. Like the kids area trainer has like an Indian temple theme station, which makes no sense. Now, she also kind of like dumped in backstage by their condors called Rotor. It's that, and also that ride was kind of mid. Fiesta de Mexico, that was the first one. They've kept doing it every year since, so I like that. They also do other events, but I was only there during the springtime, so I couldn't really experience those other events. And Drop Town Starfire provide good views of Casa de Campo and Madrid. Also dedicated entrance to the metro, as I spoke before. That's very strong bit as well with line 10. I could actually take us a 1-seat ride back to my host apartment. And then despite the gripes with those 2 Mauers, somehow they have a 1-2 punch. Mauer. You wouldn't think that they would ever get a 1-2 punch on a park, but solamente en España. It would be nice to have a dark ride there in the back of the park, especially with the hot summer days Spain get. Feels about time for another coaster. I feel like since was talking about this with the needs, and since they just gave Parque War or something, I think it's about time to give Parque de Atracciones something. Haven't run the 2K goes, probably won't. Maybe I'll ride Padrinos someday. Since theming is cellular, I probably would put it at the top of B tier. If they then Park of my childhood, it's definitely a place. Then I last visit right after coming back from Spain in 2022. Power Rangers. Seville's mostly a water park, definitely a good mix though nowadays. Knowing my target demographic. Rideability is pretty miserable for the 2 coasters, so it's really trial by fire for out-of-town enthusiasts. Again, the usual column I brought up was Stewart Orlando earlier. Entertainment, historic recollection from like shows from the early 2000s, like Big Beach Park, and what they've done with the Paradise Theater over the years. Refurbishing, upgrading water attractions, new set place where I can see that's like both a thorn and a rose, because it's kind of annoying to force someone to exit through a gift shop, but Dollywood does it, Hershey Park does it. A lot of parks me going in that direction. Be nice to see a new slide or suspended coaster in the back of the park, but I think they're mostly with refurbishing, upgrading, like starting with Count Splash Castle in 2009, surface some slides. And then since my last visit, Burn Ernie's Splashy Shores. Also, a few of those plans, like around with the store being, like when they're working on that, maybe doing something entertainment outside the gates as well for more year-round opportunity there besides the dining option. About a year later, my mom got a big opportunity in Allentown, and I decided, this film, let me do Dorney Park. Although that last film in 2013 Stinger plot kind of being a thorn, not really being useful, but Iron Menace is there now, so that is resolved. Gutting a flat, although I did ride recent terms, I did ride Apollo, now gone. I hope there wasn't much shade at restaurants, but pretty decent middle area with shade. And maybe could add a bit more to Steelyard, and there's good bit of shade by Car Ride as well. And Thunderhawk, Demon Drop, classic flat ride. Steel Force, pretty high on it. It's nice to get back on Impulse, and also meaning 125 Roller Coaster Challenge that visit. Then Buzz, obviously Iron Menace, and then Entertainment. I haven't really seen any shows. This also counts for Haunt. So I did pay respects at those at the Ocean City Parks in 2024. Put them up here. South Cove is also kind of landlocked and lost competition. I hate Gale Force. Still has a decent flat collection, and we have do a double cycle in the drop tower. And Gale Force and Wild, there's only 2 coasters that I've done, so I need to ride all the others. Also, the Boardwalk Mansion Toronto, that was mostly done but unthemed in 2024. I haven't seen any photography since then of how it looks, and maybe some work on the back end as well would be nice, but I'm not gonna harp on that. Most recent visit was Hershey Park out of 6 overall, including 9th grade trip in 2015 and first trip 2009, which was mainly for the water park and Zoo America. Finally got back to Zoo America on this visit. I feel like maybe I waited too long for Fairyland and Candemonium. That Lightning Risers is not in the best of shape. Boardwalk is nice. I feel like it's nice as being constantly being improved. Elevation, the twist to the twisted gravity for the screen, saying that really elevates the experience. I know Leesburg is kind of like that. Really enjoyed Cedar Points. Walked on Storms was pretty early in the day. You know, it's just nice to get on Accelerator again after Dragster, and this was the first time I had been on Storm after 10 years. That was a very nice sight as well. Wildcats Revenge was adequate. Zoo America, nice addition, and also stayed Hotel Hershey on that trip. Very nice. Could use more gluten-free options there, and Hershey Story Museum. That's on the main drag. I did have a few neutral things, which is new Skyrush trains. Not sure how I felt the last time, but I felt like at the end was probably a bit better, probably, than the old trains. It may still kind of live up to its name of Thigh Crush a bit. And since I just changed for the work, I might actually return at some point just for that. And also Cup Fusion. I did write the original Dark Ride there, but that ride is always so busy, so. The 2 main Dark Rides, which are Cup Fusion and Laugh Track, those get a long wait, so maybe another indoor ride would be nice as well. I just want to watch ride operations so that goes up or down as well. In the near future, also have done. Definitely have seen Hershey Park in all seasons. Springtime with that opening day. Late summer, first visit, most recent visit. Halloween 2021 before they added a current haunt event. And then Candy Lane in 2022. I guess also spring with a freshman trip, because it was just before the water park opened. But I think it totally considered regulation at that point. That's all I have to say for Thorns and Roses. Feel free to roast me, I guess.